Hi, Vic. So good to have you on the show.
Hi, Hannah. It's awesome to be here.
Awesome. I'm so excited. So, why don't we get started talking a little bit about your background?
Okay, my background is interesting. I've done a lot of different things to kind of get to where I am now. I have two master's degrees in education, and I worked as a teacher for quite a few years. I did a degree in music theatre. It feels like a long, long time ago now, but I have a theatre background as well. And then I've also had like so much experience doing so many other jobs, cleaning hotels, working in hospitality. I've done a lot of different things. So it's very interesting that I'm where I am now, working with tarot and spirituality.
That's so interesting. What drew you to getting all those degrees? Like, that must have been a lot of school.
Yeah, it was. I think it's 5 years, well, 5.5 years all up. I just, I really wanted to do theatre. I loved singing and dancing. Like that was just something that was just on my heart, like my whole life. So I just really wanted to do that. And of course, with that, there was the idea that, yeah, I want to be on stage and I want to be in musicals and I want to perform. But at the same time, I kind of just really felt like I just want to spend 3 years doing this. Like I just want to go to school every day and sing and dance and kind of just have a really awesome time. So I did that. And then I came out of doing theatre school and I realised that actually there's not a lot of jobs out there for people who have a theatre degree. So I did what most people in my class were doing and I went into teaching. And that is something that I had never thought that I would do like in my life. Like I didn't really like school. I didn't like any of my teachers when I was at school. A few of them were good, but most of them, school wasn't really my thing. Like I didn't have an awesome time at school. And somehow ended up in the classroom and I just loved it. I was like, wow, this is unexpected. And so I stayed in teaching for quite a few years. Yeah, it was great. It was good, but it ended up just kind of feeling like it was no longer in alignment with what I felt like I really needed to be doing.
hmm That's
Mm.
amazing. And so, for anybody who doesn't know you, you grew up in Australia.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
So, when did you make the switch to moving to the UK?
I moved here this trip. I moved about 7 years ago, but I also lived here for about 2 years. Kind of when I first left school, I came and I backpacked around and lived in London for a little while, and then I lived in the Lakes District for a while, and then I moved up to Edinburgh where I lived for nearly 2 years. So, and then I went back to Australia because I was like, oh, I don't really want to just keep working in bars and backpacking. Like it's been great, but I want to do more with my life. So then I went back to Australia and kind of went back to uni from there.
hmm Amazing. So, what do you love about living in the UK?
Oh, that's such a good question because sometimes, sometimes with the weather and everything here, I'm like, is this really, is this really where I want to be? I think the best thing for me about the UK is like the history, and I have Celtic roots, sort of obviously. A lot of my family are from here, and I just feel really connected to the history and the energy of the land here. And I absolutely love, like I'm obsessed with stone circles. And so I love like just going to Avebury for a day or going to Stonehenge or some of the other stone circles that are sort of less well known, and just sitting and being in those amazing places that just have so much history. I love that. Like that fills me up so much. And of course, Australia has history as well, but there's just something about the history here that I just feel so connected to.
Oh, I so get it. I remember when I first traveled to the UK, I was on a school trip and I was 14. And we went to a place that was close to Glastonbury. And at that time, like, I didn't know anything. I was like 14. And there was this really hot redhead dude who I was totally focused on. Back home, life was like really in shambles and basically falling apart. So I was really excited to just be away from my life for some time and to be, you know, around this guy. And then all of a sudden, we were in that place that was so close to Avalon. And I've had some memories of being a priestess come up throughout my life. And so I also have this incredibly strong connection to just the lands in, you know, the United Kingdom, because they're, you know, it's just so much history and so many ley lines and so much stuff and so much happening. And so I remember when I was 14, I started getting all of those flashbacks and I started, you know, feeling all this tingling. And that was the happiest time that I've ever had.
Wow.
Years later, I went back to an international scout meeting. So that was an incredible experience for me too, because I was also like in the same vicinity of Avalon, and I had just the craziest experience. Like, I was blissed out for a week and I was suicidal at home in Germany. And that was just so incredible. And I feel like sometimes our souls just draw us to a place because we just need to be in that frequency. And that's something that people always ask me, like, well, why did you move to Bali when you were in your 20s? Like, why did you move to Amsterdam? Why did you travel to Avalon again? Like, why are you doing all those things? And for me, it's really because my soul just needs to be there and recharge. It's like I go there and I plug myself into the earth, and it's like, it's just where I need to be. And I wonder if you like maybe have similar experiences.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I love the way you put that. Like, yeah, this is just where my soul needs to be, because so many people ask me, like, why are you here? Like, why are you, especially, you know, people who've been to Australia or people who are Australian who've come over for a few years, but then they go home because, you know, we've got all the beaches, we've got the sunshine, like the weather's not always amazing, but it's pretty good most of the time. It's a really great place to be, but for some reason I just feel like it's not right for me to be there at this time. Like, it's just right for me to be here. And I think the way you explained it is just like, I don't know, my soul just needs to be here. It's just such a great way to answer that question, because, you know, as much as it's about the history and the connection and everything, it is just that feeling of, well, I just feel like this is where I'm supposed to be at the moment. Yeah.
And something I also really love about your story is that you're talking about all the different, like almost lives that you've had as a teacher, as, you know, a music theater geek, as a tarot reader, as a backpacker, as somebody, you know, who is working in hospitality. And I also love that because sometimes our souls just need to experience that. And at the same time, it almost feels like there's this common thread of wanting to be around people and wanting to bring joy to people, you know, whether it's on stage or in front of a class or as a tarot reader. So, yeah. Do you feel like that's just like what I'm hearing as I'm talking to you, but do you feel like there's been this red thread that's kind of been leading to what you're doing right now?
Yeah, it's so interesting that you asked that, because I think when a lot of people look at, you know, when I sort of write down my CV of everything that I've done, for a lot of people it's just like, how the hell did you end up doing tarot? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, it's so not the path. Like, my path looks like, oh, I'm over here and then I'm over here and now I'm backtracking and going to some other weird place. But for me, it's always just felt like the path, you know, like I needed to do theatre so I could get into teaching. I needed to do teaching so I had the confidence and was able to stand in my power and do this work. Like, it's all been, you know, and I needed to have those experiences in hospitality to really like to also work out how to stand in my power, and be the person that I need to be. And I often say to people, like, I don't know where I'm going to go from here. Like, I don't know if I'm going to do tarot for the rest of my life or if I'm going to end up in some other crazy place. I don't know, but I do feel like it's that I'm on the path and I'm on the right path. But yeah, it does sort of seem like it's quite disconnected, but in a lot of the work I do, I teach courses on spirituality, and I do workshops and talks. And I remember the first time that I did a workshop, I think it was on manifesting or something, and I was so nervous. And everyone's like, "Why are you nervous? Like, you used to teach high school." Like, if you can stand up in front of like 30 high school kids and get their attention and help them to learn about Shakespeare or something, like, you can teach about manifesting to people who are already really into it. It's like, yeah, that's actually not that hard. But yeah, it's been an interesting journey, but it really has been all connected. And I talk to a lot of people who are in like a similar situation, you know, where they feel like they suddenly want to do something else with their lives. Like, they suddenly want to change careers or go into spiritual work or whatever it is that they want to do. And so many people go, "Oh, but I've wasted all this time. You know, I've got all these degrees and I've wasted this time studying this or learning this or working in corporate for 10 years and trying to climb the ladder." And I always just say to people, like, it's not time wasted. It's just been your path. Like, that's just the path you needed to be on to get to where you are now. Yeah.
That's awesome. I so believe in that too.
Mm.
So what drew you to become a tarot reader?
I kind of sort of feel like I didn't really have a choice in it, to be totally honest. Not that I didn't have a choice, but I felt it felt very easy to, I mean, there's a lot of hard work, don't get me wrong. Like, this has not been it's not an easy path when you decide to quit your real job and become a tarot reader. Like, that's not an easy path, but there was always this feeling of being guided and being led and being supported through it. I've always been into spiritual stuff, like, for as long as I can remember. I've never like not believed in something bigger than myself, in the idea that I could talk to God or whatever you want to call the energy that we talk to and we connect with. I remember I have this memory of sitting on my bedroom floor with a clear plastic sleeve and little bits of paper that said yes and no. And I put them all in a sleeve and I just was asking questions like, should I do this? Like, should I do that? Like, and it's such an interesting memory. I didn't have any tarot cards. I didn't have any oracle cards. I don't even really know who I was talking to. I just felt this desire to ask questions and to receive answers. So I've kind of always been into the idea of tarot and divination and crystals and guides and all of that stuff. And I think that has always threaded itself through my life since I was a kid, since I was a teenager. But there have been times in my life where it has been, it's been more on my heart, like it's been something that I've really held on to. And there's been other times in my life where the tarot deck has gone in the drawer for a couple of years and I've kind of, you know, still asked for help when I've really needed it, but kind of not really focused my energy on that. But a couple of years ago, it's about the time that I first moved back over to London. I moved into this share house and it was haunted. Like it had a ghost, and it was one of the most like weirdest experiences, because I've kind of felt ghosty energy before, but this was really full on. And I woke up the next morning after this very strange night, and I was just like, whoa, what is this? And so I got in touch with all my medium friends. I got in touch with all my spiritual friends. I went down to the market and I bought all these candles and like crucifixes and like all this stuff. And I just started praying, and I just started like talking to guides to come and, you know, help with the situation. And that was kind of the big thing that kind of happened to make me really realize, like, actually this is the path that I need to be on. Like, I need to connect with this stuff. Yeah.
That's so interesting. So how did you make the ghost go away?
I don't think I did. I spoke to her, and I had a few different readers and mediums kind of come through and speak with her. I just talked to her myself as well, and I just kind of said, you know, this is my room and you're freaking me out. Like, I just said it like that, you know, like, I know you're here. I can tell that you're here, and I know you're trying to get my attention, but I don't really know what to do. You are scaring me. I'm going to try and help you. But if you could please not come into my room, that would be really good. And I'm not joking, like the next couple of days, well, actually it happened for a little while, but I used to hear like knocking on the door, like outside of my room, and then I'd go and check and there's no one there. So I don't know if she actually did move on or if she decided to stay, but respected my boundaries. But yeah, it was a really interesting experience. And nobody else in the house was into ghosts or anything. So when I told them, like, you guys know we have a ghost, they all kind of thought I was pretty crazy.
For people who might not know what ghosts are, can you explain to us a little bit, what you know about it?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that we don't really understand. And for me in my work, like, ghosts isn't something that I seek out. Like, part of my work isn't really to work with ghosts, but they do sort of come up sometimes, I think, when they need help, or when I need to have a certain experience. But for me, I feel like ghosts are just trapped energy, really. So whether they are actual ghosts, like the spirit of a person who hasn't moved on yet, or whether it's just like some energy that's lingering in a place, like a sort of energetic imprint or something, I'm not really sure. But I do really feel like we don't need to be scared of ghosts. Like, I've never heard of anybody who's been hurt by a ghost. I've heard of lots of people who freaked out by having one or seeing something weird happen, but I've never heard of a ghost killed this person, or a ghost like broke my arm. Like, that's just not something that you ever really hear about. But there's lots of things that you can do. Like, if you do feel like you're that you have a ghost, you can clear the energy of the house, or you can talk to it, and you can just say, like, I know you're here. Can you please respect my boundaries? Don't scare me. And you can also call in somebody to help you, like someone who's into that kind of work, somebody who will be able to kind of move that energy on for you on your behalf.
I think it's so cool that we can talk about this on the show. How cool that we can just have this conversation out in the open. I remember when I was little, because that's usually when you see things with like not this crazy veil over your eyes. I saw ghosts all the time. And
really?
Sometimes I would just get shivers down my spine and I would giggle because I felt like the ghosts moved through me. And I didn't mind, because to me they were just like other humans, But then growing up, I started seeing all those like ghost movies, and ghosts are scary, and ghost woo and haunted, and like exorcism being so terribly bad. But when I was living in Bali, like, there were so many exorcisms because there was just so much trapped energy. There were so many people dying in traffic accidents that some of the souls just didn't know what to do, and then they held on to humans, and then the little girl started talking with a terribly low voice, and people started freaking out. But since I had this personal experience with ghosts, it didn't scare me so much. But it's interesting how some of our souls just are kind of trapped, or some of the energies just like have a hard time flowing, and instead of helping them, oftentimes those entities are just being like pushed away, and, oh, you're scary, or you're terrible. But really, they're just like any other human. It's like, and that's, I don't know, I'm a little bit of a closet ghost activist, so I'm really happy that we get to talk about this. And I love what you said. So something like, for anybody who's like sitting at home thinking, oh shit, I think I have a ghost. I love what you said. And something that's really helpful too is to clear your space. You can call on Archangel Michael, because he's like the king of cutting cords. He's the king of, he almost has this, I always call it like Mikey's, because I call him Mikey. It's a little silly because he has such a I don't know. I think Archangel Michael is a really sexy angel. And so sometimes we have a fucked up relationship sometimes. So you can just call on him because he's really, really good with space clearing. So he might, cut some cords from your body. He might take his little, suction device and just suck out all the dark energy. And he's going to, make sure that your home is protected by white light. And, that's something you can always do. Just visualize white light around your home, around your body, around, the room you're in, and especially before you go to sleep, and just say, just make sure that, nothing of a lower frequency comes into my space tonight. Because just like you wouldn't let people who, would treat you in an unloving way into your life, in the same way, you don't want to hang out with a bunch of, miserable ghosts without being aware of it. So that's something that's just been extremely helpful for me on a practical level. And then whenever, something really calls your attention, just talking to them as if they were a human, just saying like, how can I help you? What do you need? Because mostly they just also want to be acknowledged. And also, especially when there's like traumatic death or like just any traumatic experience in a soul's life, like when somebody had a really hard, just a crazy death experience, oftentimes something that helps is, to say, we're okay, you can move on. Like it's safe for you to move on. Like we're safe here. It's all right. And to just like soothe that spirit, because usually when they call your attention, like they're all agitated and something's like, going wrong for them. So that's something that I can share about how to handle ghosts when they come up.
Yeah, I love that. I work with Archangel Michael a lot as well. I call him Big Mike.
I'm not alone. It's so cool.
Yeah, but I love what you said about just talking to them. Like when I had my goes, I was pretty shaken up by it. So the first conversation we had was very much like, I know you're here, but I feel really scared. Like you're really scaring me, and like I want to help you, and I understand that you want my attention, you want to you need something or want something, but right now I'm just really scared, and so I just need you to not scare me. And that I really feel like that worked. I mean, I was still pretty like jittery for a while when I lived there, but yeah, it was I feel like that's so powerful, because so many people don't know what to do. And they're like, what do I do? How do I speak to a ghost? It's like, just talk to them. Just say that, they're there, and that you're, either that you're scared or that you want to help, like you do. Yeah.
That's so lovely. So I want to circle back to the tarot readings. And I would love to know, what do you love most about your current career doing that?
Oh gosh, I love so much about what I do. The thing that I love the most really is helping other people to get on their path, and helping other people to be able to hear their own guidance and get the answers for themselves. I really just love, I love when somebody messages me and just says, I took your course, or I've just watched your videos or whatever, and it's really helps me to connect with my own path and my own purpose and my own energy. It's just like, yes, that's awesome. I love that so much. And I meet so many amazing people like you, like this. I feel like there's so many of us out there who are we're either doing the work already, or we're curious, or we're on the path in some way. And there's just, I love that feeling of like community and connection with other people who are, on the same path.
I love that. That's also the thing that I just love the most about running my business. It's just the community. Like I would never have met all of those people if it weren't for the internet, and if it weren't for us having all those similar interests. It's really incredible, because after all, we're still a minority, and it's so cool to just all, get together. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's it's what I love too about the spiritual community, is that so many of us are doing spirituality in a different way. Like we're not all doing it in the same way, but there's so much respect and, between like, oh, well, I work with angels, or I work with, you know, fairies, or I use tarot, or I use angel cards, or, you know, I don't use any of that stuff, like whatever. There's just, it feels like there's space held for everybody, no matter kind of what their path is.
That's really awesome. You also quickly touched on some difficulties that came up for you as you were transitioning to becoming a tarot reader. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, gosh, it was a really interesting time. I was very stressed with work when I was teaching. I loved teaching. Like, I loved being in the classroom, the kids there, you know, teaching whatever I was teaching, whether it was, you know, I taught like so many different things, whether it was English or drama, or I did special needs education for a while, so I sort of taught like history and art and like all of these things, maths for a while too. I loved being in the classroom, and I loved being in that energy. But what I really, really struggled with was the system, like the education system. And I tried for a really long time to find a way to be able to not let it affect me, or find a way to be able to like find my place in that system. And after quite a few years of trying to find out how can I fit myself in this system, and how can I do this work that I feel called to do, but also not want to just go home and cry because I'm so exhausted and I'm like so stressed from the paperwork and the, you know, the amount of pressure that is put on you as a teacher. And sort of probably like the last year that I was teaching, maybe even like the last 2 years, I really started to feel this pull to move out of teaching. And I just kind of felt like, what else am I supposed to be doing? Like I said, you know, I've spent all this time at uni. I'm trained for this. It's like the only thing I'm qualified in, apart from singing and dancing. like what is there for me out there? And during this time, I had, you know, I've been using my decks again, and I'd been connecting with my own energy, carrying around lots of smoky quartz to like protect my energy when I was at work. And I started to get this message, this guidance that just kind of kept saying to me in my head, New Age hipster, New Age hipster. And I was like, what is this? And I ignored it for months, like months and months. And then it started to say, like, start a blog, call it New Age hipster. And I seriously ignored this voice for so long. I was just like, I don't want to start a blog. Like, what am I going to talk about? And eventually one day I was like, fine, I'm going to listen. I'm going to start a blog. And so I started a blog called New Age Hipster, and I started to just share. The first post that I ever put up was a post about aqua aura quartz, which is funny because that's what I'm wearing today. But I was like, come full circle. And I just put up this post of like, oh, I love this crystal. This crystal's really pretty. Here's some pictures of this crystal. Like, that was all I posted. I had no idea what I was doing. And then I started to share posts about my personal tarot journey. And I started to share about, you know, what I thought spirit guides were, and, you know, how I connected with angels and all of that kind of stuff. And then from starting that blog, people actually started to read it, and they're like, oh, I really like what you said about this card, or about, you know, this crystal or whatever. And during this time as well, I got I had a really, really bad tarot reading. And I don't usually like to say that, you know, I don't like to call out my, you know, my friends in the tarot community. I mean, she wasn't a friend, but, you know, she's in the community. And I asked about a job that I had applied for. And I got this reading back from her it was a cut and paste job off the internet. Like, she had cut and pasted the meanings of the cards that she had pulled from the internet and pasted it into an email for me with like all these different bits in between, with different fonts and different typos and like all of this stuff. And I sort of like, and it didn't answer my question. And she told me all of this other stuff about how many kids I'm going to have and all of this weird stuff. And I told some of my friends about it. I was like, I got this really weird reading. What do you make of it? And my friends were just like, Vix, why aren't you doing readings? Like, you don't need to pay somebody else to read for you. Like, you can do your own reading, and you should be doing readings for other people. I was like, oh, that's an interesting thought. And then from there, I just kind of went, yeah, okay, maybe I will. And then I did 100 free readings for people I didn't know, like, because your friends will always be like, oh, that was great, even if maybe it wasn't. So I did 100 free readings for just random people that I met off the internet. And once I'd done that and collected enough feedback that felt really positive, I thought, okay, I'm going to put myself out there and start charging for readings. So interestingly, even though I had this really terrible reading, and I always say to people, oh, it was this worst reading, in a lot of ways it was actually the best reading that I could have had, because it made me realize, hey, maybe I can do this. So when people say to me like, oh, what do you do when your reading isn't accurate? Like, I feel like such a failure. I'm like, maybe that person needed to hear that for a reason, even if it wasn't accurate. So yeah, that was interesting. And then here we are.
That's awesome. I so get what you mean. I feel like my friends are always a couple steps ahead of me. Sometimes I just ask my friends because they have like this bigger view over my life, especially the ones that have been with me since, the very beginning. They're always like, oh, Hannah, it's so obvious. You need to do this. You need to do that. And then I ask all of my angels and all of my guides and I meditate on it. I'm like, how did you know that? It's like, bless our friends, who sometimes are really able to point us in the right direction, because we're so in life and can't see it. It's wonderful that you had that. It's so awesome. And I've also had those moments where I thought, oh no, I could do this so much better. But isn't it cool that some people like pave the way for us, and then we are able to, receive this healing session or reading or whatever it is, and then think, hey, like I can expand on this, like, thank you everybody who came before me, and I'm going to do it a little bit better than you did. Because that's innovation. Isn't it nice?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's motivating. It's cool. Everybody has their place. How cool is that?
Yeah, I agree with that so much.
So we're getting to the end of our conversation. I would love to ask you about your favorite book.
Oh gosh, my favorite book. I have so many books that I love. Like my favorite spiritual book or my favorite book in general?
Can you give us a spiritual and a general one?
Oh gosh, I just have so many. One of the books that I'm reading at the moment that I'm really loving is Witch by Lisa Lister. About halfway through that at the moment, and it's powerful. Like, it's really, really powerful. I've never been somebody who really identifies as a witch. I think I did for a while in high school. I used to wear a pentagram to school, and like, I was watching The Craft, and I was in a coven, all that kind of stuff. And so I really did identify with it for a little while. But then as my journey progressed, I was kind of like, oh, this isn't really in alignment. And then I started doing all of this sort of light worker work and kind of going down that path. But this book has really helped me to reclaim the word witch for myself. And not just because I do witchy things, but because it's like a reclaiming of the, of your feminine, like your divine feminine. And so she talks a lot about reclaiming your power as a woman. So even though it's about witchy stuff and being a witch, it's about so much more than that. Like, it's really about the rising of the divine feminine. So I'm gonna put that book in. Awesome.
Cool. Is that the spiritual one, or do you also have a general one for us?
My favorite general book is Twilight.
Oh.
And a lot of people, when I say that, are like, what? But it's funny. It's a really kind of similar thing to what I was just saying about this tarot reading that I had that wasn't very good, that kind of got me into tarot. When I read Twilight, I decided that I could write a book. And so I did, and I've actually, it's nearly at the point where I think I'm going to self-publish it and stick it on Amazon. But I wrote a whole novel after reading Twilight because I felt like I could. So that book was really inspiring, not just because I like the story, but it just made me feel like I could write a book.
That's so cool. What's the best advice you've ever received?
Oh, the best advice I've ever received. It's so simple and so like cliche, but I think it's just like, be yourself and just be you and do you, and focus on your own path, even when everyone else thinks you're really loopy. because it can get you in some pretty awesome places.
That's awesome. What's a dream you still want to realize?
I think my dream at the moment is really to take my business to the next level. I really feel like I have some books inside me, not just my YA novel inspired by Twilight, but I also really feel like I have some spiritual books inside of me that want to come out at some point. So that's a big dream.
That's amazing. I'm excited to read them. Awesome.
Cool.
So you also have a really cool membership called The Circle. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's just launched. It's just launched this July, and it's basically it's a membership service, and you receive exclusive content each month. We focus on a different theme, and so you receive exclusive content, which is it's a PDF workbook. And the way that I create these workbooks, I think it's kind of like a bit of a hangover from my teaching days, but I like to put loads of info in, but I also like it to really be more about activities and questions and really helping you to be able to kind of delve into stuff, rather than just like, here's a chunk of text that tells you some stuff. It's like, let's help you to like explore this topic. And it also comes with a meditation and access to a Facebook group where there's some like amazing discussions happening there. It's just like this wonderful space where everybody's so supportive and people are going in there spilling their guts and asking for support, and everybody's holding each other in the space, and it just feels really good.
That's amazing. What themes do you cover in The Circle?
The theme this month is cord cutting. So we've been working with Archangel Michael, and we've been doing some cord cutting and kind of looking at cord cutting on a much deeper level, because I think for a lot of people, cord cutting is like, it's a visualization and an asking Archangel Michael to cut your cords, but we kind of take it a lot deeper, and it's like, and I've really got to do some work on what these cords are, where do they come from, why do you have them, how can we stop them from coming back? So that's the topic for this month. And next month is going to be all about self-love.
Beautiful. Awesome. So for people who are interested in learning more about you and the work that you do, how can they do that?
The best place to find all the info about me is on my website, which is newagehipster.co.
Awesome. Cool. So I'm also going to include all of those links, everything we talked about today in the show notes, and you can find those at hannahbeer.com/show. Don't forget to leave us a review on iTunes. Don't forget to comment on the blog, letting us know how you felt about the episode. It was lovely, lovely talking to you, Vix.
You too. This was awesome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this was really fun. Alrighty. Have a nice week, everybody.